There is a deep human instinct to seek solid ground. We build our homes, our careers, our relationships, and our identities on the belief that what we have constructed will last. We crave permanence. We want the love we feel today to be the love we feel in 50 years. We want the success we have earned to be a fortress that will protect us forever. We want the version of ourselves we have so carefully curated to remain intact. But life is not a fortress, it is a river, and the most profound truth we can ever learn to embrace is that nothing is permanent. This is not a message of despair, it is the key to our liberation. Look at the natural world. The blossom is most beautiful precisely because its time is brief. The sunset does not clutch at the horizon, demanding to stay. It yields gracefully, making space for the stars. There is a sacred wisdom in this cycle of release and renewal that we, in our striving for constancy, often forget. When we cling to a moment, to a feeling, to a version of our life, we are fighting the current of existence itself. We are trying to freeze the river, and in doing so, we miss its flow. We miss the new landscapes it wants to carry us to. The heartbreak that feels like it will last forever. It won't. It will soften, it will change you, and it will eventually make space for a new capacity for love. The failure that seems to define you. It doesn't. It is a chapter, not the entire book. The joy that feels so perfect, so complete, even that is not meant to be held static. It is a gift to be experienced fully, then released with gratitude, making room for the next unexpected wonder. This truth is the foundation of resilience. When you understand that the difficult season will pass, you find the strength to endure it. And when you understand that the beautiful season will also pass, you learn the discipline of presence. You learn to truly be here now, to drink deeply from the cup of this moment, because you know it is already slipping through your fingers. This applies to our very sense of self. The person you were 5 years ago is not the person you are today. Your beliefs, your passions, your fears, they are all in a state of gentle, constant flux. To cling to an old identity is to chain a flowing river to a single bank. It is to refuse the gift of your own evolution. So, what does it mean to live in a world where nothing is permanent? It means to live with a lighter grip, to hold our plans, our possessions, and even our relationships with open hands. It means to invest fully, but not to confuse the investment with the investor. The riverbank is not the river. It means to practice the art of letting go, not with apathy, but with grace, to thank a chapter for its lessons before you turn the page. We are architects of our own anxiety, building fortresses of expectation on foundations of fear. We believe that safety lies in creating a world that is static, predictable, and unchanging. We want the job to be secure forever, the love to remain at its initial intensity, the health to be a constant. This deep-seated craving for permanence is a rebellion against the most fundamental law of the universe, the law of flux. We see this truth in nature, in the decaying leaf, in the shifting sand dune, in the evolving species, and yet we insist that our own small lives should be the exception to this cosmic rule. This insistence is the source of our deepest sorrows, because it sets us in a losing battle against reality itself. The promise of liberation lies not in winning this battle, but in laying down our arms. When we stop fighting the current of change and instead learn to float in it, a profound weight is lifted. The energy we once spent on desperately clutching to people, positions, and possessions, fearing their inevitable transformation, is suddenly returned to us. This energy can now be channeled into experiencing life rather than embalming it. The understanding that nothing is permanent is the ultimate permission slip to live fully and without the paralyzing fear of loss. If you know the beautiful moment is fleeting, you are compelled to be entirely within it. If you know the difficult season will pass, you can find the fortitude to endure it. This perspective dismantles the power of failure and heartbreak. A failure is no longer a permanent stain on your record. It is an event, a single day to point in the long and winding graph of your life. A heartbreak is not a life sentence to loneliness. It is a painful but temporary reorganization of the heart, making space for a new, unforeseen configuration of love. By releasing the demand for a happy ending that never changes, we open ourselves to a story that is infinitely more interesting, one with plot twists, character development, and unexpected redemption arcs. We are freed from the tyranny of a single fixed outcome. This liberation also cultivates a radical form of compassion, starting with ourselves. We stop punishing ourselves for not being the person we were yesterday, or for not yet being the person we hope to be tomorrow. We see ourselves as a process, not a product. We extend this grace to others, understanding that their actions and attitudes are also fluid, that they too are navigating the river of their own becoming. We become less likely to etch judgments in stone, knowing that today's villain may be tomorrow's hero, and that our own certainties are subject to revision. Ultimately, to embrace impermanence is to choose aliveness over security. The fortress may feel safe, but it is also a tomb. It seals you off from the world, from growth, from the fresh air of new experience. The river is unpredictable and at times dangerous, but it is also the very substance of life itself, moving, flowing, and carrying you toward horizons you cannot yet imagine. The liberation is in the letting go, in the trust that you do not need to control the flow, only to learn the art of swimming, of adapting, of allowing the current to carry you while you navigate its twists and turns with a heart that is open, resilient, and finally, free. We often envision our lives as structures, houses we build, careers we construct, identities we fortify. We speak of a foundation for our future, of a solid relationship, of building a legacy. This architectural metaphor is seductive. It promises stability, safety, and endurance, but it is ultimately a flawed and fragile model for a human life. A building is static. It is designed to resist the elements, to remain exactly as it was on the day it was completed. But life is not static. It is dynamic, organic, and in constant motion. A far more truthful and powerful metaphor is to see life not as a structure, but as a river. A river is never the same from one moment to the next. Its waters are perpetually flowing, sourced from spring melts and rainfall, and journeying toward a vast, unknown sea. It carves new paths during floods and shrinks to a trickle during droughts. It adapts to the landscape, bending around boulders, deepening its channel over centuries. This is the nature of existence. We are not fixed beings residing in a finished building. We are flowing consciousness, moving through time, shaped by and shaping the world around us. The problem arises when we apply the logic of the fortress to the reality of the river. When we cling to a moment, to a feeling, to a version of our life, we are, in essence, trying to build a dam. We are attempting to halt the flow, to pull the water into a controlled, manageable reservoir. We want to capture a feeling of joy and keep it forever. We want to freeze a successful chapter in our careers and leave within it indefinitely. But a dammed river becomes stagnant. The very thing we tried to preserve, the vibrant life, giving water, becomes still, stale, and choked with algae. The effort to resist the current exhausts us, and in the end, the river always wins. The dam will crack. The flood of change will come. Embracing the river metaphor transforms our relationship with challenge and loss. A boulder in the river, a job loss, an illness, a heartbreak, is not an obstruction that destroys the river's purpose. It is a feature that changes the river's music. It creates rapids, it shapes currents, it reveals the river's inherent strength and capacity to find a way around. The river does not curse the boulder, it incorporates it. The boulder becomes part of the river's story, a defining characteristic of its journey. This perspective invites us to exchange the tools of the architect for the skills of the navigator. Instead of seeking blueprints for a perfect, permanent life, we learn to read the currents. We learn when to paddle with gentle persistence and when to steer forcefully away from a dangerous whirlpool. We understand that our vessel, our body, our mind, is also part of the flow, changing and adapting with the journey. We find our security not in the illusion of a fixed destination, but in our growing confidence to handle whatever the river brings. The goal is not to arrive at a specific point on the map and build a house, but to remain afloat, curious, and engaged in the journey itself, trusting that the river knows its way to the sea. This understanding of life's inherent transience is not a passive observation. It is an active, dual-force engine for living well. It provides two essential and complementary strengths, the resilience to endure hardship and the presence to fully cherish joy. This is the practical power of knowing nothing is permanent. On one hand, this truth is the bedrock of resilience. When we are in the midst of a crisis, a period of grief, a financial struggle, a profound disappointment, the pain can feel absolute and eternal. It is a dark room with no visible exit, but the conscious knowledge that no state, no matter how painful, is permanent, becomes a crack of light under the door. It is the quiet, rational voice that whispers, "This too shall pass." This is not a hollow platitude, but a grounding in reality. Winter does not last forever. The thaw always comes. Understanding this does not erase the pain of the cold, but it gives you the strength to gather wood, to build a fire, to huddle with loved ones, and to wait for the sun. It transforms suffering from a life sentence into a difficult season. This knowledge is the foundation of patience and endurance, allowing you to metabolize pain rather than be defined by it. Conversely, and with equal importance, this same truth is the master teacher of presence. It is the very fleeting nature of our beautiful moments that makes them so exquisitely precious. If a perfect sunset lasted for hours, we would eventually turn away from it. Its magic lies in its rapid, glorious dissolution. When we internalize that our joys are transient, a child's laughter at a specific age, a vibrant holiday gathering, the peak of physical health, we are compelled to put down our mental cameras and step into the experience itself. We stop taking the moment for granted and start drinking it in with every sense. The awareness of impending loss is the very thing that fuels profound gratitude. This dual awareness creates a profound emotional equilibrium. It prevents us from being crushed by adversity because we know it is temporary, and it prevents us from becoming complacent in our happiness because we know it is a gift to be savored, not a possession to be stored. We learn to hold our experiences, both bitter and sweet, with a lighter touch. We care for the beautiful flower, appreciating its color and scent, all the while understanding that its petals will soon fall and return to the earth. This does not diminish its beauty, it elevates it. The impermanent joy becomes a sacred encounter, and the impermanent sorrow becomes a bearable passage. We stop demanding that life be a static portrait of happiness and learn to appreciate it as a dynamic, ever-unfolding film, where the contrasting scenes are what give the story its depth, meaning, and ultimate beauty. We often speak of finding ourselves, as if our identity is a finished sculpture, lost in the attic of our psyche, waiting only to be dusted off and put on display. We cling to the person we were at our peak, or perhaps the person we promised ourselves we would become, as if this image is our one true, permanent self. This is a comforting fiction, but a fiction nonetheless. The most intimate application of life's impermanence is the realization that our very sense of self is in a state of gentle, constant flux. We are not a fixed monument, but a flowing river. Consider the beliefs you held with absolute certainty a decade ago. Some have likely softened, reshaped by experience. Others have been discarded entirely, replaced by more nuanced understandings. The passions that once burned white, hot may have cooled into embers, while new interests, once unimaginable, now spark with energy. The fears that once paralyzed you may have lost their power, even as new vulnerabilities have emerged. This is not a sign of fickleness or a failure of character. It is evidence of a mind and spirit that is alive, responsive, and engaged with the world. It is the process of learning and unlearning that defines a conscious life. To cling to an old identity is to chain the flowing river to a single, outdated map. It is to insist on being the angry young person. Long after the anger has served its purpose, or to perform the role of the effortless achiever, when you are secretly yearning for a life of more depth and struggle, this clinging creates a painful dissonance between who you are authentically becoming and the character you feel obligated to play. It is the source of the feeling of being an imposter in your own life. When we embrace the fluidity of the self, we grant ourselves a profound kind of permission. Permission to outgrow relationships that no longer nurture our evolving spirit. Permission to change careers, not as a failure, but as an adaptation to our growing skills and changing values. Permission to release opinions we once defended fiercely, having been gifted with new perspectives. This is the opposite of being lost. It is the courage to be in a perpetual state of discovery. The question shifts from who am I, which implies a fixed answer to who am I becoming, which is an invitation to a lifelong exploration. This perspective fosters a deep and abiding self-compassion. We stop berating ourselves for not having life figured out, understanding that the goal is not to solve the puzzle of the self, but to enjoy the endless process of assembling and reassembling its pieces. We become curators of our own experience, gently letting go of the artifacts from past versions of ourselves that no longer belong in the exhibit, while making space for the new acquisitions that reflect our current truths. The self is not a destination we arrive at, but a landscape we are continuously traveling through, with each passing year revealing new valleys of insight and new peaks of understanding. We are not betraying our past selves by changing, we are honoring their journey by continuing it. The desire for permanence manifests as a tight grip on our plans, our possessions, and the people we love. We believe that by holding on tightly, we can secure them against the erosive forces of time and change. We white-knuckle our careers, micromanage our relationships, and cling to sentimental objects as if they were talismans against loss. This tight grip, however, does not preserve what we love, it suffocates it. The alternative, the practice that flows directly from accepting impermanence, is to learn to live with a lighter grip. A lighter grip is not a sign of apathy or a lack of commitment. It is the ultimate expression of wisdom and respect for the nature of reality. It is the understanding that to truly love something, you must grant it the freedom to be what it is, and to become what it will be. When you hold a bird in your hand, if you clutch it too tightly, you will harm it. If you hold your hand completely open, it may fly away. The art is to cradle it gently, offering safety and warmth without imprisonment. This is how we must learn to hold our lives. This philosophy applies to everything. We invest fully in our work, pouring our passion and skill into it, but we hold the outcome, the promotion, the praise, the specific result with a light grip. We love people with our whole hearts, but we hold the form of that relationship with a light grip, allowing it to evolve, deepen, or even dissolve naturally, rather than trying to force it into the shape of our expectations. We can cherish our memories and mementos, but we hold them with a light grip, knowing they are markers of a past that is already gone, not anchors that can halt our forward motion. This practice is, at its core, the art of letting go. Letting go is not forgetting, nor is it a declaration that something did not matter. It is a conscious, graceful act of release. It is thanking a chapter for its lessons before you turn the page. It is the quiet gratitude you offer a beloved object before passing it on to someone new. It is the forgiveness you extend to yourself and others for not being the static, perfect figures you once hoped you would be. Letting go is the active component of a lighter grip. It is the deliberate opening of the hand. When we master this art, we exchange the exhausting pursuit of control for the liberating practice of trust. We begin to trust the process of life itself. We trust that when one door closes, another will open, even if we cannot see it yet. We trust that our capacity to love is not diminished by loss, but is, in fact, expanded by it. We find our courage not in the strength of our fortress walls, but in our confidence to navigate the unknown. The security we sought in permanence is found, paradoxically, in our own adaptability. We discover that we are not defined by what we possess, but by the grace with which we participate in the endless, beautiful cycle of holding and releasing, of greeting and farewell, of the constant, flowing dance of becoming.